In the new year, I'm going to be hosting 5 Pan-African conferences across the world. There will be one in Europe, which will probably be in Belgium. There will be one in Africa, which might be in Cameroon, but it could be elsewhere. There will be one in the Caribbean islands. I have not yet decided where. There will be one in South America, most likely Brazil. So that's Belgium for Europe, Brazil for South America, and I'll probably be going to Brazil for the first time next month. So Belgium for Europe, Brazil for South America. There will be one in the United States, probably at the FDMG Academy, because we'll be done and up and running by that time. And Belgium and Europe, Africa still to be decided. Could be Cameroon. I spoke at a Pan-African Institute in Cameroon. I was very pleased to see that we actually have a collegiate level Pan-African Institute in Africa. That was very, very powerful for me to witness that. And so Pan-Africanism is alive and well. And I want to do these conferences because everybody right now, so many of us are energized with the Pan-African spirit. It's all throughout Africa. It's all throughout Europe. It's all throughout the Caribbean. I was in Guadeloupe earlier. I was in St. Thomas, St. Croix earlier. I was in Barbados a couple of about 2 months ago, and I just got invited to return to Barbados. We might do the Pan-African Conference in Barbados, possibly. But I'm just letting you all know this now. Make sure you put some money to the side so you can pay for your airfare and your lodging. Also, at the top of the new year, January 2nd and 3rd, the Maroon Kingdom of Jamaica is having their annual Maroon Fest. And so for those of you who are interested in that, I want you to know that January 2nd and 3rd will be the Maroon Fest up in the mountains of the Maroon Kingdom. And in case you haven't been right now, the Jamaican government, from what it appears, is the Maroon Kingdom of their sovereignty. So as you know, the Maroons were never conquered. They defeated the Spanish, they defeated the British, they defeated the English. It was a Maroon named Bookman who went from Jamaica to Haiti and helped initiate the Haitian Revolution of August 21st, 1791. In fact, August the 21st, 1791, August the 21st, 1831. So anyhow, honor the treaty that they made with the British. As you know, the British signed a treaty with the Maroons and the 17 entities to try to make the government of Jamaica respect their sovereignty. The big issue at hand is the fact that there are untapped natural resources up in those mountains.
Exactly.
And the Jamaican government probably wants to start selling it off to the Europeans and the Chinese. And so that is the issue. So keep the Maroon brothers and sisters in your prayers. We're hoping that the Jamaican government know that you need to respect the sovereignty of the Maroon village. There's 2 major Maroon outposts. I forget whether they are the Windward Maroons or the other group, but they are the Maroons of Cujo and Akapam. Those great African leaders who defied all those European powers and ultimately became a free and independent people. There's a beautiful museum up there in Maroon Town. If you're scared of heights, you might have a problem going up the mountains. I got a little nervous myself, but I stayed at a bed and breakfast up in the mountains that was beautiful. They put me in a room that overlooked the whole thing. I could see down for the Maroon Festival, January 2nd, January the 3rd. And the brother who is the king of the Maroons, he is a direct descendant of Cujo, who led the fight for independence and defied the European kingdom. So I wanted to let you know that. In Guadeloupe,
You good?
It's a hunt club.
Okay. In Guadeloupe, we have a sister trying to open up an independent African school. As you know, Guadeloupe is still a colony of France. And the French government denied her application for her independent African school, saying that the school is not in the best interests of the French. And just so you fought in the revolution to defeat Napoleon, pregnant with a child. And then she joined the army of, I believe it was General Ilias or Louis Del Grace. And they fight against the French army, that they decided to blow themselves up to stop the French from getting to the community. So all these African soldiers in Guadeloupe, they did with Nat Turner's corpse, a black woman fighting with a baby in her stomach, even willing to die. There was also another general, Louis Del Grace and General Inias. These are three great from Guadeloupe that we. And I was also in Aruba, Dutch, and I was also in Bonaire. When I was in Bonaire, brothers and sisters, they have, of us was in the S.O.U.L. And the S.O.U.L. was a very punishing form of slavery because you had to pull the salt up from the water and they made you work with no shoes or no gloves. So you can imagine what happens if you're in 120 degrees of heat with your bare hands and feet digging up the salt. What's going to happen to your skin? It's going to start to break down and peel. And from the sun, and they're burning from the salt. And I had an opportunity to see the salt mines of Bonaire. And Curacao, if memory serves me correctly, the Dutch colony of Curacao, they had a great revolutionary general by the name of Tula, T-U-L-A. General Tula, who led a rebellion. I think the year was 1794, 5. I got to double check. But it was definitely August the 17th. And the reason that was so interesting for me is, as you know, two great black leaders were born on August the 17th. One is Emperor Menelik II of Ethiopia, who defeated. So it's interesting that Garvey and Emperor Menelik were born on the anniversary. The Curacao Revolution. I was given a book about General Tula that I have not. And we talked about the need for more practical Pan-Africanism. I'm a Pan-Africanist. When I go to Africa, I'm representing the brothers and sisters from the island. Brothers and sisters, the ones in Europe, Asia, Australia, South Pacific. Not just the American African, but all of the diaspora. And I shared with the Ethiopian government that many of us in the diaspora are disappointed that Ghana is the only country right now that actually has a dual citizenship law, a dual citizenship policy, and a dual citizenship application. Although we know His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I gave us land in a region known as Shashamani in Ethiopia. But the Ethiopian governors, after Emperor Haile Selassie's passing, were not as focused on Pan-Africanism as he was. So Ethiopia, although it's one of the homes of Pan-Africanism, the government itself has not moved towards bringing us back home, not as residents, but as citizens. So I'm hoping that my invitation to Ethiopia by the government is the beginning of the changing of attitude. That now Ethiopia and other African governments will invite us back home, not just to live and invest, but to be citizens. Because you can move anywhere in Africa right now, but only as a resident. And I don't like that. Because we are African, because we are from Africa, we should be able to be there as citizens with no limitations on our abilities to live, build, and invest. So for those of you who are African world nationalists, aka revolutionary Pan-African nationalists, aka Garveyites, I will be putting together a list of Pan-African conferences. I'm hoping some of you will come. For my ladies, you have sisters over there who want to meet you and talk with you. Not only in Africa, in the Caribbean, in South America, and in Europe. In Europe, I'm thinking the Pan-African Conference will be in Belgium, but there may also be a second one in either Paris or in London. And the reason we have to consider Paris is the largest population of Africans in Europe. Not England, but France. And in South America, it is Brazil. In the Caribbean islands, there may very well be Jamaica. But we also have to look at Cuba, because Cuba has a very large African population. I actually received my IFA initiation Babalawo in Cuba several years ago. And so that is my report from the diaspora. Now, my report here at home, number one, I'm having an issue with all these children who are being beat and killed by police. I believe that at some point, black men are going to have a standoff with the police. I don't want it. I don't like it. Of a black I've ever heard of in my life. But I was scrolling through my app and fly a lot. I do a lot of audiobook listening. I didn't know that somebody actually dictated the Deacons for. If you listen to audiobooks, please download on the Deacons for Defense. And if you rather read the book, then make sure you order the Deacons for Defense book. But one of the most relevant things we can do now, which is why I pay so much respect to our brothers from the New Black Panther Party, our brothers from the Fred Hampton Gun Club, Huey P. Newton Gun Club, because we need self-defense, we need training, and we need the confidence to shoot if we have to. It's something we have to do. In fact, along those lines, I am planning a national gun training tour where I attract brothers and sisters to various sites around the country so they can come and be taught how to defend themselves. And to my good brothers in Norfolk, if you have a location somewhere in Virginia, possibly even here on the Nat Turner Trail, I don't know, where we can bring large numbers of our people here, about 100 or so, to get trained in a day or two, please let me know, because I want to do about 5 of them. We're going to do one in California, one in the Deep South. We need one here in the Mid-Atlantic. I include this in the Mid-Atlantic. One on the East Coast, so that's a little bit up. We have to do at least one in the Midwest, and then a 6th one in the Deep South. So I want to do 6 trainings, and so we're working on that right now. So let me know if y'all want to be a part of that, if y'all have a place where we can possibly do the training.
I'm letting you know now.
Say again.
I'm letting you know now.
Okay.
We good.
And Brother Khalifa could even let us know at some point whether we could even use the Nat Turner Trail.
We're talking about
it. As a training site. Okay. So that's something we want to do. When the people come, the guns are there, we show them what to do, cook out, eat food, do what we do, make it fun, because speaking from a psychological standpoint, they're afraid of using weapons, and a lot of us have internal spiritual religious conflicts about self-defense because we have been so brainwashed with the Jesus story of the non-violent passive Messiah, which he actually was not, but that's the narrative that a lot of black people feel conflicted about self-defense. They believe that they should just suffer and die. And one of the things I loved about listening to the Deacons for Defense audiobook biography is they talked about how Dr. King, who's a hero of mine, but how Dr. King would not support the Deacons for Defense. And so there was a standoff, a political rights movement, because the civil rights movement wanted to basically paint the entire black liberation struggle as a nonviolent struggle. The Deacons for Defense basically said, who gave the white man in load, we can shoot in load. And it was very, very powerful incidents that happened between the Deacons for Defense and the police. And there were several times that the Deacons for Defense saved black people's lives by showing up with the damn guns.
That is fact.
They had a shootout with the Klan where they shot up and killed several members of the Klan, but the Klan went to a certain hospital to get treatment because they didn't want nobody to know they lost the shootout with the Deacons for Defense. So please read the book. It's a very powerful book. I was listening to it my whole drive down here last night from Philadelphia, but we got to get armed and we got to get organized because it's only going to get worse.
Right.
And now America has who? All non-black people aligned with her for our destruction. I don't know if y'all heard what happened in Chicago about 3 weeks ago. A little 6th grade sister, 11 years old, was sitting on her porch. Next door, the Mexicans were celebrating the Mexican-American Independence Parade. And she had a little doggy. And so she politely asked the 2 Mexican adult women not to step on her dog. They called her the N-word. 11-year-old girl punched her in the face, hit her in the eye with a bottle, and stepped all over her dog. And guess what? No one has been arrested yet for this assault. There's also been other assaults on Africans in Chicago by the migrants. And the gangs, from what I was told, the gangs in Chicago actually had a run-in with the migrants because they were bullying black elders. And so the gangs had to show up and check them, and I heard it turned into a violent confrontation, but they sat them down. The point that I'm making, as the Honorable Marcus Garvey told us so often, we don't have no friends. Nobody. Not the Arabs, not the Asians, not the Native Americans. You have no friends. And I think we need to recognize that, because too often black people be looking for allies in other races. We're the largest group on the planet. We're the biggest race in the world. Why do we need allies outside of our race? We have all we need within the race. Let us organize within and stop looking for support from without. Now, somebody sent me a text message today saying Terrell Owens said he doesn't date black women. I'm not sure what that's about because he's the blackest thing in the country. And for my dark-skinned Africans, I don't know what our problem is, but it seems to me that we do the most cooning. The chocolate family does more cooning than the caramel family and more cooning than the African lemonade family. I don't know what it is about the chocolate family. We always cooning, whether it's Terrell Owens, whether it's Clarence Thomas, whether it's Jesse Lee Peterson, we are always cooning. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about, to give you an update on FDMG. So right before I left for Africa, we had our HVAC inspection, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. As y'all know, we already had our electrical inspection, we passed it. We had our plumbing inspection, we passed it. We had our water sprinkler system inspection, we passed it. We passed everything. HVAC was last. So we had the HVAC inspection maybe 3 Mondays ago. And we did not pass it, but we did not fail it. We have some things that got to be fixed, and then the inspector is coming back. During his walkthrough, he also showed us a few other things that have to be put back right in order for us to pass the building inspection that gives us our certificate of occupancy to let you all inside. So with that being said, all the remaining repairs are very straightforward and simple. That's not the problem. But our good contractors, and they are good contractors, because of their repair schedule, they're not able to service us as often as we would like. So, with that being said, I am no longer looking at a grand opening for Kwanzaa. We're not going to push. Because with 90 days to go between now and Kwanzaa, less than 90 days, that would be too much to get all the repairs done, get the building occupancy permit, and we don't know how long that's going to take because I heard the city likes to take their time. And then we also got to paint, clean, and furnish the building. I think 90 days is too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to table the grand opening date until New Year's Day. On New Year's Day, I'm going to make the announcement as to whether we're going to do the grand opening on Black History Month, which is February. And the first Saturday in February, February 3rd, is the birthday of Dr. Edward Wilmot Blyden, who is one of the greatest African scholars in the world until Sheikh Anta Diop, followed by W.E.B. Du Bois. Make sure you do your research on Dr. Edward Wilmot Blyden from St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, came to America to go to seminary school. They would not let him in. He ends up in Liberia, becomes the Secretary of State in Liberia, and he ultimately transitions, joins the ancestors, and he's buried in Sierra Leone. But anyhow, it would be a good thing to open it up on his birthday. But some people are saying, if you're going to do February, you might as well wait till the spring equinox and do it in April when it's warm outside, and we could do the indoor and the outdoor together. Some people say, take your time. Some say, do it in February. It's History Month. FDMG is history. So you can let me know your thoughts privately. But New Year's Day will dictate whether we do February or whether we do April. If anybody knows a roofer, I need a good black roofer. I also need a good black fence. I also need someone who knows how to repair drop ceiling racks. We have some drop ceiling racks that are hanging. You know, the metal racks, you put the tiles in them. I need somebody who can balance them out. And I also need someone who knows how to install furniture. And then we will have a video room that will have a very large monitor. Ever since I started running into these black parents who keeps 3 years old is too young. Money at 3. So this is about money, and I need you to tell your fellow parents. So if you know the only thing they got is drugs, why is your child being tested for ain't no daddy at home disorder?
Woo.
Now the other thing, vaccinations.
Yes.
Vaccinations. Now, I don't know if y'all saw this,